Hola, hola, buenos dias, and buenos noches, GNGs. My name is Trekk with 2Ks, and this is Weekend Crypto, brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto YouTube channel. I am on the road right now, so the setup is definitely a little bit different, but I'm going to keep it pushing before I get into these stories. If you don't know, the basic idea is that I cover crypto news that happens between Friday and Sunday, doing a late night recording, pops out Monday morning, usually before the live stream. Sometimes I actually get to be on at the 10ish time, but that's a whole nother thing. I do appreciate King and Zay for that post up when it does happen. The other thing to note is I want to say thank you for the folks who are still tapping in to hear what's going on in the news over the weekend. Thank you to folks who are leaving the comments. And that just lets me know, like, hey, I'm actually still doing something right because folks are tapping in. Also to say thank you to the lurkers and thank you to the scammers, because at the end of the day, I got to be doing something to have y'all keep coming back. And I appreciate that y'all are doing it. I especially am thankful for the folks who are actually leaving the comments, making the shares, and giving a thumbs up. All right. So just want to say my gratitude and an abundance for the folks who are actually still staying in tune with this whole thing. Right. But nonetheless, let's jump into these stories. Right. So this weekend, oh man, this weekend, I don't even know how to exactly call this. Like, there was a number of other things that happened this weekend, but the bigger thing is a lot of it revolves around the situation of Tornado Cash and like the different stories and stuff. So we'll jump into this first one here, which is a Sia coin creator, Skynet. Basically, they're saying that operations will keep going despite the shutdown. Now, I honestly didn't know that they were shutting down. I never actually got involved with their coin token or any of their platform stuff. They are a decentralized storage platform, or at least that's how they were arguing it out for what they were offering as a service. And so the basic idea is that the CEO behind Skynet Labs, sorry, I'm dyslexic at times, don't mind me, basically goes, hey, we're gonna have to shut down. They already like fired like half of their staff and stuff like that, and gonna end up cutting down to more people over time, right? But the company formerly known as Nimbulus raised $3 million in a funding round in 2020. And to be honest, that's a low ass number. Like 3 million is not a lot for some of the 2 and 3 figure numbers being thrown around in some of these, vapeware companies right now. Now, I never tested out the product, like I said, but they were in the category of like Filecoin storage and R-Wave, right? Now, I don't know how this is going to work because the way this article is written, it doesn't actually give you any implication of how they're going to make a transition of where the company, let me jump close up to say this, the company is downsizing. They're closing off X amount of the different features and services that they were like racing to come up with, which I think that's what really got them. They were over there trying to add into a whole bunch of other stuff on their roadmap versus just sticking with, hey, here's what we're doing as a solid product. And then you were spending money on things you didn't have to, right? But nonetheless, my thing is, I think they're going to do a rebrand. If Skynet itself is able to still function and work, and they can do it on a skeleton crew or staff of devs, whatever, I think then that there's a rebrand on the horizon again, right? They went from Nimbulus to what they are now, the Sia coin thing. They might do a rebrand again. It is definitely a possible thing. This is not financial advice. This is just me spitting out what I'm kind of reading between the lines on. They might even sell off their whole stack and development thing to some other company that comes into the space and be like, oh, we want to buy that decentralized storage stuff. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Just something running around my head. Nonetheless, jumping into this next story, and that is Tornado Cash DAO shuts down as it can't fight the US and keep contributors safe. This was labeled on Crypto Slate as like an exclusive story thing. So here's where I'm at on this. One, let me get close again on this. This is a DAO. What does this mean for decentralized autonomous organizations if a core group of people can just quote shut it down? Doesn't that then put you back in the category of being just a regular or like further right centralized entity setup? I don't know. Just saying, that was my thought process when I read this joint, because here's what they said. We asked the TRML. Okay, so basically, this part right here where it talks about the TCM members, they're basically saying, "Hey, we had the shutdown and we use the multi-sig wallets that were in control of the DAO to shut down the whole thing," which arguably again goes into this thing of, was it really decentralized, or like where on the scale was it? Right? Is this what the community wanted in regards to how they would have done their governance vote about, do we stay open or do we close down? I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention to it, but this did happen during the weekend that they said, all right, we're just going to shut down so that we can either limit or protect people from the legal liability of what is seeming to be a new type of contagion in this thing we call the crypto space. Because why? This company right here called TRM Labs, which was the one that arguably triggered the whole situation of wallets getting basically blacklisted. So what I want to basically cover in this part is that uh what they're saying here. So when asked about the TRM Labs API, uh, wait, I'm sorry, API causing protocols such as Aave, Uniswap, and Balancer to sanction addresses linked to Tornado Cash, TC members declared, "There goes decentralization," in what they described as as a shitty situation. Here's the funky thing to me: if you were able to close your DAO, it was already centralized to begin with. It wasn't decentralized. So this brings it to a question about how DAOs are going to operate. But I'm not going to beat on this horse, y'all. I'm going to move it on. There's not much to say about this. Here's the last part that got me. Now, if you've used Tornado Cash, you might want, there's another story actually that we'll get into how pretty much all of the addresses that were on the list, one way or the other, whether you got dusted or whatever, your info got sent to the feds. But let's get into this last little part right here that goes, the general mood of TC members was was despondent as they admitted they needed a vacation after the troubling past week. The future of Tornado Cash looks extremely gloomy as the Torn token is down 20% on the day. The role of the Torn token, the Torn governance token, is currently as known. I don't even get what this line works to mean. It, governance token is currently as known due to the DAO being closed as a multi-sig wallet was deleted. Again, how did the decentralization work if you were able to close down the DAO? If you were able to do it as the core people, then what did it really take for the government to do it? Like, they didn't even have to do nothing really. I mean, listen, the point being is that the Tornado DAO closed down. That's the bottom line of it. I think this is going to bring in a new question of, what does it mean for decentralization? What does it mean for DAOs? If you can have this happen, which I don't know how else to say this to y'all, but it's gonna definitely be a new scenario playing out in relation to DAOs going forward. Just saying. Now, the next thing to go into is India's ED freezes 46 million of Vlad's funds on money laundering charges. All right, so I have an interesting take on this, but I will read through some of these highlights so y'all get what's going on here. Singapore-based crypto lender, what do we call it? Yeah. Lender Vlad is facing money laundering charges in India after 46.5 million, we're saying USDs, that's how much it is in the rupees, was frozen from its local entity Flip Vault Technologies. Now, the basic idea of what happened is the ED, which is the enforcement division, sorry, enforcement, um, not doctorate, dir- directorate, um, directorate. They were basically, let me get up close. They were basically targeting some entities that they're like, hey, you guys are doing basically capital flight control. Uh, this is a capital flight control story because what they're saying is these entities were moving out their funds out of the country and they were putting them into foreign wallets. Here's my thing about this statement, and it's actually in this about foreign wallets. Crypto wallets are technically not wallets. They're goddamn keychains, and then they work anywhere where the internet works. So what is foreign in that concept, right? What does that mean? It's not a foreign wallet if it works anywhere and it goes with you anywhere. But anywho, the point here is what I really took away from this story is they were investigating folks because they were trying to get money out of certain companies. The companies were moving the funds, the value of their profits or what they had as value into crypto and then moving it out of the country's ability to be able to tap the pockets. And since they weren't going through the traditional banking institutions, I read this story as, so let me get into this other highlight. The Indians Enforcement Doctor, I'm really messing up, ED, um, earlier launched an investigation into the activities and compliance of non-banking companies to the Reserve Bank of India's guidelines. So basically, what was going on is there were companies and projects that they were trying to get, and they couldn't get the funds out of them. So somebody was like, oh, well, we need to tap on who we could tap on to get this money. Somebody was hating, somebody was pocket watching because the money wasn't flowing through the traditional system like it was prior to what is going on now with this whole new crypto proliferation going on inside of India as far as businesses and the financial transaction activity. So I'm arguing, and I'm not saying this is like 100%, but this story to me reads as capital flight control because they're not naming the actual companies or the projects that are illegal things. And so I'm thinking somebody was getting mad because they were switching how the money was flowing around and they couldn't tap the pockets like they wanted to. But anywho, moving on to this next thing. This story in particular caught me at the last minute when I was going through looking at stuff. A lot of things, like I said, over this weekend kind of got overshadowed by the tornado cash related situation with the dev that got arrested in the Netherlands. Okay, so if you don't know who Kevin OLeary is, Kevin OLeary says arrest of tornado cash developer worth the sacrifice. I keep telling y'all, when you are out here listening to folks, and this includes me, when you are out here listening to folks who are in a whole different economic status and in a very different operational environment than you, especially these multimillionaires, these head of multi-conglomerate companies and stuff like that, and they're saying things about the space, they are not in the same league as the regular average day retail level person. You making six figures a year, you're not on the same level as them. No, you're not. You're not having the same level of legal conversations or geopolitical conversations in regards to how a business can influence geopolitics. You're not there. And so when I hear people come up to be like, oh, well, such and such said this, it's like, bro, why are you listening to that person? They're not looking to make a system that helps work for you as the average person. That's not their goal anywhere in life, okay? At least that's my interpretation of it. Here's why I'm annoyed with this dude in another sense on the constant. He says, now, if you don't know, one of the developers that is involved in Tornado Cash got arrested in the Netherlands. And so he's like, well, of course, it's a good thing because we need more regulation in the space. If you are involved in cryptocurrencies and you do not take into account the fact that this is a technology, I look at it and go, what are you doing? Cryptocurrencies is literally based on a technology that was meant to be able to um, um, enforce and enact and provide the average person with using technology that allows privacy. It's literally in the name based on cryptography. Okay. So when I hear people come in talking about, well, no, we need more regulations and we can't have this privacy stuff. What the hell are you talking about? The stuff is literally based on that. Nonetheless, here's this guy. At the end of the day, it's okay to arrest that guy. Why? He's messing with the primal forces of regulation. Maybe he feels he's a crypto cowboy, but he just got a whole bunch of arrows in his back. If, what did he say? If we have to sacrifice him, that's okay because we want to have some stability in that institutional capital. Now, again, he's not talking about the retail level folks. He's talking about institutional level folks who don't give two shits about your economic sovereignty and ability to level the financial playing field. That's not his goal. That's not his agenda. He's literally saying this to you, but y'all folks are still going to come out here and quote this man as like a great insight and savior and understander of the crypto space. You know what? I'm gonna get off my high horse. I'm not even gonna read the rest of the story because obviously I hope you can take how much I get annoyed with folks like this and how they're being positioned and praised in this space. But I come from a different era, so that might be what it is. Nonetheless, this did happen. Again, a lot of stories was, circling around this whole tornado cast situation. Jumping on to this next thing, Monero's privacy-focused crypto protocol upgrade is now live. So basically, some things got upgraded and made better in the Monero protocol and how it works. And it was a combination of 71 developers, and it took some time. And this came out over the weekend too. And so here are the highlights of it without getting into like technical aspects. So the number of signers in a ring signature has gone from 11 to 16. I actually do wonder why 16 as an even number is a thing versus going for an odd number. Not certain on that, but the basic idea is ring signatures help make it harder or possible probability impossible to trace the origins of a transaction. So probability wise, you shouldn't be able to figure it out. It does not mean it is not impossible. Let's say 100 years down the road when technology is better, right? So there's a distinction between that. Other thing of is that they made the bulletproof algorithm. They upgraded it to bulletproof plus. Um, and that basically zero knowledge proof that enables confidential transactions. And again, these are just more things to make it harden the privacy aspect of it. And that is as like default function. Okay. Last thing, well, you can see what it says on here. This is on Coindesk. You can definitely find it. If you're using Ledger or the Treasure, this is going to be another way to help the wallets do syncing faster. I think that the next direction that like law enforcement or governments are going to go after is the hardware wallets. So that's going to be interesting to see how this situation plays out. That's just my thought personally. Also, fees, the volatility isn't going to be there the same way anymore. This is directed at the folks who are either interested in Monero or using Monero already. Hey, some upgrades happened. This came out over the weekend. If you weren't tracking it, now you know, right? Also, multi-sig functionality has been improved and critical security patches were added. So that's another good thing that happened. And we're going to jump to this last one. So I seen this on Twitter earlier on something related to Aave. I think it might have been on Friday. It popped out, but nonetheless, this story comes out. And the basic idea here is that DeFi protocols Aave Uniswap balancer bans users following OFAC sanction. If you don't know what's going on, the OFAC report, I've been talking about this OFAC report, which comes out of the US Treasury Department, and the OFAC report stands for Office of Foreign Asset Control or Commission or something like that. But the idea is that if you got stuff going on overseas, OFAC in the US wants to know about it, bottom line. And they put out a report last year that was talking about how they wanted to deal with blockchain and crypto, and it was not in a positive light. Okay. And so here you have it that basically Tornado Cash and addresses that touch Tornado Cash were basically put on the no-no list for OFAC. And so this has made a whole ripple effect going forward that I honestly don't think the people in OFAC, as well as other part or people in the government, and as well as other people in the exchanges who are like, oh yeah, this is great news. We need this, government clarity. We need this government action. I don't think they are really understanding the scope of how they open this can of worms and what it could mean in the bigger community, as far as how it's going to affect prices of things, especially within the Ethereum ecosystem, and as well as what it could play out into for some of the exchanges where, because there's a whole thing now going on with dusting where people are just sending out minimal amounts of Ethereum that have touched the Tornado Cash. So the basic idea here and what's been going on is that there is a company. Where's the company at? Family protocols. No, where's the company at? TRM, which is a company. Here we are. TRM Labs, which basically they are a security related company, and they put out the stuff in regards to compliance lists and no go blacklisted wallet addresses and stuff like that. And so what they initially were doing was they were dealing with the quote whole Russia situation right here. But surprise, surprise, it got applied to another situation that no one thought of. Sure. The bottom line, because I'm running on time right now, is that this situation is played out all because the API that TRM Labs used is being used by all of these different platforms that claim to be decentralized. But guess what? If you are decentralized, you cannot block people from using the layer one blockchain, i.e. via their wallets. If you're doing it through your website, same thing again. If you're able to block people, you're not DeFi, you're not decentralized. And I think these scenarios, as they play out more and more within this year, and I think again, this situation of basically sanctioning and blacklisting these wallet addresses the way they did it is going to make a ripple effect that I don't think they really understand how this is going to play out. And I'm not going to lie, like I am so ready to watch this shit just burn down. Like I'm dead ass. I'm not going to lie. No cap. I'm really waiting to see how the community counters what the government thought was like a checkmate move. That's just me though. Just saying. Nonetheless, I'm gonna leave all of that there, close it out on this. Um, yo, I'm sorry. I had a hell of a week and a number of different discussions on some things being played out in the space. And I'm just at that point right now. I'm just like, yo, I'm ready to just see it all burn. Like, let's start from scratch because some of y'all is really out here screwing over like the everyday person and don't care. I'm sorry, that's where I'm at. DJ life right now. Nonetheless, I am Shrek with 2Ks. And before I run out of here, the last thing I want to say is me and 3D, if y'all don't know who 3D is, but me and my partner in crime, 3D is doing these Twitter spaces on Sundays at 7 p.m. right now. No, what is that? Yeah, 7 p.m. right now. And that is leading up to our digital realty webinar, which is on August 30th at 6 p.m. You can find the details at Eventbrite, or you can just find my Twitter posts because I'm posting about it all the time. And the basic idea is we talking about what's this whole no code wave, what it means to building out metaverses, open source tools. We got a whole website that lists things that you could use that are open source, and basically exploring like what this decade is going to look like in Web3 and how folks are going to be making metaverses, like how websites was made, where like it's going to be a whole proliferation. But nonetheless, check us out Sundays at 7 p.m. On Twitter Space. That's how we're doing it as far as like what is digital realty. can you make it in the metaverse without coding and trading? The answer is yes. And it's very interesting for how you can do it. And then August 30th is when we're doing the webinar, and you can find us on Eventbrite. But other than that, I am Shrek with 2Ks. This is Weekend Crypto, brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto YouTube channel. And I just want to say thank y'all for tapping in. I really do appreciate. As for the week, hopefully you have a productive over a busy week. And if it's not a productive week for you, at least be in good and safe company. All right, y'all. One.